What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Unified Advanced League. My name is 4Y4. I'm joined by Tenrec today for some Infernal Division action. We've got Team Ambition Black against Illini Esports. Two teams that had polar opposite week ones, looking to, for Team Ambition Black, continue, and for Team Illini Esports, bounce back after taking a drubbing at the hands of Mirage. Tenrec, how are you?
I'm super excited today for two teams, like you said, with very polar opposite results in week one, and also just polar opposite stories, period. Team Ambition Black, one of the top dogs of Unified, period. And meanwhile, Illini, a constant dark horse who kind of appears in flashes when it comes to leagues like this. But, you know, in a game like League, any team can just pop out of the woodwork and perform really well. So I'm really excited to see how these teams compare against each other. More excited than anything to see how Team Ambition Black can continue to change and adapt. I haven't gotten to see them perform. I can't wait to see what such a top seed has to offer.
Yeah, they are the back-to-back champions of this league. This team was known under some previous administrations as Mad City, if you know them from those days. I've gotten a chance to cast these guys. They've had guys shift in and out of player management roles, etc. But this is an immensely talented group of players and a group of players that has played together for a long, long time, which for a lot of collegiate teams like the Illini, you don't get all that much. You get a lot of roster turnover. And it's not like Team Ambition Black haven't had their fair share of substitutions and whatnot, but the cohesion is there and has been there for the better part of a year and change. And you can only imagine how much that has helped.
It definitely does kind of hurt sometimes to be in a collegiate scene, especially when the collegiate scene is as inactive as it is. Finding ways to not only keep your team in games, but also keep them as a team can certainly be difficult. And so while the sub pool is a little more shallow as compared to Team Ambition Black, Illini is actually the only team that has the sub today in Asalak taking over for two vitals up in that top lane. Team Ambition Black staying as their five-man unit as they always do. So Illini has a lot more volatility when it comes to them for sure. Team Ambition Black is that constantly overperforming, to say the very least, team that always comes through.
No, and the roster has a little more volatility for the Illini, like you said. But as far as volatility, let's talk about the meta. And you want to talk about volatility in picks? The meta is still shaken out. Heck, we don't even have Belveth enabled yet. We can only imagine how that'll shake things up. I think she'll be enabled week 4, if I'm remembering correctly. But either way, you had been tuned into it a little before I was. It took me a little bit for the shoe to drop. But in their first series, Team Ambition Black, they look really, really comfortable. Obviously, they 2-0'd, I believe it was Mirage Alliance, I want to say. But either way, they ran a double support comp in the second game. They played around Punisher and and I think it was Gangplank Olaf. They've had some substitutions, like I was saying, but
yeah,
they had
Olaf.
They had Seraphine and Soraka. So this double support that LCS fans might remember is like, wow, that sounds very LS Cloud9 kind of, you know, the brief reign that he presided over. But clearly they are not afraid to take these kind of risks. They believe in their individual talent to pull it off and how this team functions as a unit to be able to, well, pull it off.
That's one of the best parts of watching a team this good perform in a meta this new, because even if it's on stream, even if it's against higher seeds, they still want to experiment. They still want to try so many new things outside of a scrim environment because, you know, there's no time like the present. So I'd love to see Team Ambition Black continue to push that envelope, continue to stretch that narrative, maybe see two completely new supports together in that bot lane. Again, I don't know. I don't really care. I just want to see what Team Ambition Black comes up with. Illini has certainly had their comfort picks as well, picks that kind of resound throughout every meta in general, and so I want to see how they've continued to work on themselves. Of course, they have that Wukong, they have that Victor, they have that Jhin that they had in their pocket in game 1 against Akuma Esports, which they lost to, and then they basically they changed everything up but kept to a pretty solid meta. They had the LeBlanc, they had the Zeri as well. It's just, I don't think they had a lot of time in those games to really mature on those comfort picks. Hopefully we'll see if they have a little more time during these games to perhaps find some slightly better scaling with what could clearly be something that they're very capable on.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we will, I mean, yeah, the scaling picks have reared their heads already as ever. But what we did see, and you pointed out to me actually, was that in game 2, Illini in their previous series, again, they got 2-0. It wasn't a great week for them, and they have an absolute brutal challenge against Team Ambition Black.
Yeah.
Let's not sugarcoat it. Team Ambition Black are heavily favored here, but they were not afraid to throw out the playbook. And look, in these 5-team divisions, we're in the Infernal Division right now. 4 teams make playoffs, so you can take these kinds of risks in these best of 3s.
It's true. No, Illini, I feel like if they go with what works consistently enough, that eventually it could work wonders for them. We'll see if they continue to go with what works as we head into the pick bans, starting out with Team Ambition Black with the first ban.
Let's see. I think, yeah, we were talking about, all right, what are your pick bans? What is contrary to what the LPL might have you believe, I'd be really surprised, but really, really happy if we saw a Kale here. But Aatrox, he's another one of these feast or famine kinds of champions. Him, Kindred, I think of champions like that look in the right hands, right? You talk about at this level, guys are going to trust their individual skill. You're going to see the meta even wackier than you might see in other places. And guys are going to play with ego. Guys are going to play with confidence. So don't be surprised that these picks are being banned outright.
Off of what literally you have to go off of as well, scouting-wise or meta-wise, these teams are going to go for what may seem like some pretty out-of-the-blue bans. Asalak did play that Aatrox in Game 2 of Akuma, and arguably was one of the best members of that team in that specific game, leveled up relatively quickly, and while the KDA left a lot to be desired, certainly got a participatory amount of assists in those games. So, you know, kind of getting rid of all of that potential to stock up. The Darius ban from Illini, as well as the Zeri out from Ambition. So a little bit of back and forth with just what's kind of a constant in the meta regardless.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. The Zeri was something that the Illini brought out in their last series. They've switched up their AD carry pool. The AD carry pool and the support, or the bottom lane in general, I think you have seen Enchanters dominate, but we have seen, you know, Callista Renata was played in LCS Academy, apparently, which I learned, which I don't understand. But point is, we're seeing all sorts of stuff thrown out there. And BMD, he's the recipient, the target of this Darius target ban. Again, it's just these picks that seem kind of solo queue, seem a little off the wall. But you have to believe that the Illini have done their research, and that's being banned out for a reason. As we go on down the list, Vex and LeBlanc being taken away as well.
I think it's really hard for Illini to find these pick bans because looking at Team Ambition Black, at first glance, probably at second and third and fourth, their pools just run so deep. And maybe it's because they want to throw people off by playing so experimentally, both on and off stream, both in and out of tournament. But it really does feel like Team Ambition Black can work with just about anything that's given to them inside of the drafts. The bans will end first round with Twitch leaving the party on behalf of Illini as well. So we'll see what our first pick comes out to be from TAB.
Yeah, and the Twitch surprises me a little bit, but what doesn't surprise me is Seraphine. She always has her moment in the sun. You were talking about it with me off air, and she is seeing a lot of moments in the sun. That's not because of that Ocean Song skin.
And Castle as well played Seraphine both games against Mirage Alliance and did incredibly well in those. Honestly, I'm surprised that Seraphine wasn't banned in the first round to begin with from Illini just because Castle was performing so consistently in those games. The Senna coming out as the first pick from Illini.
Yeah, and Senna just about as she is strong as ever. I mean, you might see her be one of the few AD carries that's paired with something like a Tom Kench, these kind of reliable, more engaged supports. Now, you want to talk to loop back here. A couple points. One, I'm getting a notification here that from Hyper in the chat that Team Ambition Black, they are losing 2 of their bans. Something to do with a substitution. We'll get more clarity for you when we have it. But Senna Tom Kench picked R1, R2. Now, you mentioned Castle. He was on this Seraphine. You're right. He played it in the mid lane. Castle's in the jungle today. So, again, this versatility that Team Ambition Black have, rearing its head again. You're not going to throw Seraphine in the jungle, obviously, but this could go to Mark Boots. This could go to All For One down there, right? He played the Soraka. The Twitch was banned away against him. I think the Seraphine could go 2 or 3 places. So, slamming that early and leaving yourself shielded, relatively speaking, from a counter pick. Good drafting so far for Team Ambition Black. They're going to pair with an Olaf to boot.
The Olaf was also used by TAB, but not actually by anybody that was on the squad, I believe, when they were running. I don't remember if they may have changed their name or whatever, but no, the Olaf was absolutely still present in TAB, and so was the Soraka. So Team Ambition Black actually may not be as experimental as we may have thought. It appears that they may have found a new core to run with going into what is currently the meta that is, you know, still ever shifting. But hey, it worked for them once. It sure as hell may work again.
Yeah, clearly they're just going to keep slamming with it until someone has an answer to it or bans it. Now, you know, you could use the bans for that. You could use the bans to do other stuff. But yeah, no, like you said, is Seraphine, Soraka, and then you got Olaf, and then it was Gangplank beforehand. And the Gangplank has slipped through the bans. So, yeah. Look, Illini still have 2 more bans, and they could throw it at Gangplank. Now, Olaf could be flexing to a couple different roles, but like we've said, it has been in the jungle that Team Ambition Black have liked to play it. Now, EMD, again, he's subbing in the top lane for the first time this split, so maybe he'll bring a different flavor to the table. This draft still has a lot to be decided. On the other side, Lilia, the champion that on live right now, a little bit taken off her in the most recent patch, but she is unbelievably strong.
Her Wonder game is just absolutely incredible, and I feel like that's really something that Illini is going to need to work with, those early game invasions, just to sort of deny a lot of approaches that Team Ambition Black has to offer, to elongate the game as long as possible, because that really feels like the next step Illini needs to take. They were denied too early on in their previous games that they took against Akuma, so I think the next step to finding what they can actually do that works for them is getting to that point where they can start looking for things that work, and I think Lilia is going to be a big help to, at the very least, stall to that point. See the next bands come out, it's going to be Ari from Illini, and of course they get one more. TAB has gotten rid of their bans, so we'll only have one more coming from them, and it's going to be the Silas.
Okay, taking away Silas, going to get that out of Mark Boots' hands, so not opting to... So what that tells me
no
is...
No Gangplank ban.
Yeah, the Alliance... Well, yeah, no, that Gangplank ban, actually, that's a way better point than whatever the hell I was going to say. That's not being taken away here, and again... This is just, they're available in the Discord, these post-game screenshots. You saw Team Ambition Black embarrass kids in the last week with this exact composition.
Yeah. And
to let it through again in a best of 3 when you can counterpunch in a potential game 2, I don't know if I love that. Now, look, Team Ambition Black could fall into complacency, I suppose, but well, don't need to ban it when you're going to take it yourself. So... So we're going to pick that up for Asalak. Like we mentioned, he subbed in game 2. Just kidding.
Wait a minute.
Shot. Heimerdinger's strong right now, but
neglecting the Gangplank is going to be such a move.
I mean, the team that's a hover. Okay, Camille,
okay, that's an acceptable pick for sure. Camille's always pretty consistent and can get a lot of crowd control done for sure. So I have little to no beef against that, but it just leaves that Gangplank open. I don't think that All for One is gonna hover on that for long. I think that's gonna be a very quick pick. Oh my god, come on guys, you cannot do this to me.
The Vayne top is valid. We did see Teemo banned last series, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Don't take Alawi into this comp. Okay, Jax is fine. Look, yeah, I think Jax, to me, functions similarly to how Olaf is going to function in this composition. Is he's going to get a lot of help from the enchanters that are the Soraka and the Seraphine. They're just going to juice them up and say, run at them. Run at them. Have your way with them. This is a bit of a death ball, go forward comp. You've got late game scaling to boo. This is a composition that is very telegraphed in how it wants to play, but it is a strong way to play.
It is. It's very balls to the wall for Team Ambition Black. They want it. They either are willing to get this over in a hurry, or come late game team fights, they are going to try and stomp. There is no getting around that. They're going to have a lot of power to their punches by the time we hit the 15 or 20 minute mark, and there's no escaping it. What matters is your positioning. And Illini, they definitely have the champions to work with positioning. They have that Lilia for the Wander, they have the Camille to get around things, they have the Tom Kench to throw positioning off for a lot of people. It's gonna be about sort of slipping through the cracks for Illini Esports. We'll check out the trades, and there are your lanes. The Seraphine Soraka in that bot lane is what I gotta be watching, because a screenshot does not do it for me. I need to see this in action.
Yeah, and again, the flexibility.
Got it.
Okay, so Mitch Flurry actually going to be playing here in the bot lane instead of Turk, is what I heard. Hyper, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
So if we say Turk on accident, give us in advance. No, but this Soraka Seraphine double enchanter bot, it's it's got shades of, oh gosh, what the heck was it? Sona Lux bot back in the day, but this double enchanter comp isn't something that is completely foreign to League of Legends right now, and clearly this is something that Team Ambition Black are comfortable with, and I think that should be the main takeaway, right? Meta be damned. right now. We don't know what the heck the meta is. We've got some stripes and some shades, sure, but Team Ambition Black, they've got a tried and true recipe. They've played with each other for a long time. They are confident in this, so therefore you as a spectator must be as well. And Illini, the onus is on them right now.
Yeah, all eyes are definitely on Team Ambition Black to see if they could perform. The spotlight is now theirs with one win under their belt, championships across the board, and a new meta to attempt to conquer. It is Team Ambition Black's game to win or lose, and it is Illini bursting at the seams, trying to find some semblance of space and maybe some notoriety along with it. We'll see how much of Game 1 they can cover as we'll jump into Summoner's Rift very, very soon. Something that we've sort of glossed over as the trades came kind of directly after that last pick from TAB. I want to talk about Azir versus Victor for a moment and how spacing and power will, again, contrast very differently in a game like that, because Azir can do a little bit of that blocking out too.
No, absolutely. With whether it's the soldiers or the wall, the Shuriba shuffle that you're going to get from Azir, there's a lot of zone control. But like you said, Victor, with the Death Ray, with your W, you've got a lot of zone control as well. But again, you want to talk about, for me, just I'm rolling with this theme of, the part of the reason that Azir scales so well is the scaling 101, kids. If you have more levers to pull, you scale better, usually. With Azir, it's attack speed, it is ability power, and it is ability haste, right? And so with all those things, you get the Enchantress going, you go Moonstar Renewer, Staff of Flowing Waters, Ardent Censer, and it seems like a GG. Now, look, if Castle just gets smashed in lane, or gets smashed early, you talked about early invades, that is absolutely a route that the Illini could pursue, especially with Lilia being as strong as she is in the early game right now. I think the bot lane is going to be a bit of a handshake, but I'm looking at the top jungle right now. That's going to be where these games, that's going to be where it starts for me. In the late game, it's Senna, it's Azir, great. But right now, I think the jungle pathing is really going to be something to watch. These top jungles, these top sides of the map are going to have the potential to be, anyway, very, very explosive. We are loaded onto the Rift. 4x4 and Tenrec bringing you the action here from the Infernal Division. Ambition Black, their first game, or rather their second game, of the split. They took a 2-0 last week over Akuma, and the Illini got 2-0'd by Mirage. And these two teams, looking to for Ambition, keep going in the right direction. Illini bounce back, and again, to reiterate one last time, Mitch Fleury in the bot lane on that Soraka, not Turk, as was previously stated.
Will we meet in the middle, or will we burst even farther apart in the records? Ambition Black, undeniably the favorite of just about every game they walk into the UAL, but against a team like Illini, their name kind of precedes themselves comparatively. Illini, they haven't had many results to call their own, not too many huge placements, and again, they've certainly been in the conversation when it comes to Unified, but they haven't been the topic of conversation for very long. I agree. I think when it comes to top jungle, that's going to be where a lot of our sights are set come the beginning of this game. A lot of decision making is going to come into play. Who is going to be the first to jump the gun, and who is going to be the first to punish that jump? We'll see how these lane phases kind of stack out as everybody will begin to disperse, and we have entered our first bit of neutrality here on Summoner's Rift.
And the jungle pathing has already started off a little spicier. Punisher and Castle probably going to be doing a little bit of vertical jungling. They're starting out at each other's red buffs, and then going to probably move into their side, into their blue buffs. So Castle probably going to have first purchase on that top lane gank, and then on the other side, the Punisher on the bottom lane. Conversely. So look at the laners to manage their waves well, or not, or they could just fall flat on their faces. But that sort of coordination is going to be what I'm watching, or even if they want to go for these early trades, early dives, it's a little less, efficient nowadays. But Silver Ritter doesn't seem to give an F. He goes right in. All for One gets the double encore. How about that? The double root immediately. First blood for All for One. Very well played. A risky dive by Punisher.
I was waiting for specifically how the Lilia would try and dive in. I was wondering if the Punisher would go for that bot lane, a bit of a riskier show in the 3v2 Absolutely. Against the Soraka Seraphine. It looks pretty tasty, it looks pretty tempting, but the ability to just keep yourselves stable, and also how close that All for One as well as Mitch Fleury are to that turret is kind of playing to their strengths on that invade from jungle, and it was almost a gank from the other direction to an extent. That's a really early first blood. Honestly, catastrophic for the rotation that Le Punisher was going to have. I wouldn't even say that was greed. I think it was just circumstantial.
I think the bottom line, though, is that it was catastrophic. I think you hit the nail right on the head. This is ugly. There's a lot of standing gold right now in Mishlory's pocket. I mean, this lane is such an absolute tilter to play against. With the amount of poke that they have, I personally think it was, I think it was sure circumstantial, but I still have questions as to what Le Punisher was thinking going into that dive. Clearly they know something I don't. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. but that looked a little, I think the kids are saying,
hey,
sus.
somebody check these PCs.
Yeah, seriously. But no, that is early power here for All For One. And now, yeah, you can expect them to have all the push in the world. And look, with Castle, he's running that Ghost. Olaf, he's going to be ahead of Lilia right now. Le Punisher's going to have to play some catch-up here. Now, to be fair, still even in CS, so clearly it hasn't affected him that much. But this is an advantage that Castle is going to have. Castle's going to have for himself. He's going to be a lot more free in his own jungle right now.
Yeah, give Castle a little more time to roam. I don't think we'll see the full extent of what that means for Team Ambition Black in particular until a couple minutes from now, because, of course, the gold gap isn't going to totally manifest itself until All For One or Mitch Fleury decide to back, or Silver Raider or Newbie decide to push a little too far, which I severely doubt they're going to do. The main idea is presence in bot lane has been established, and it means that you're going to be able to find slightly better damage trades, and you're going to be able to find a couple more wave pushes on that bot lane for TAB, which is definitely helpful for the remainder of this game, because now the Lilia can invade already one of these lanes at the very least.
No, I think the pace that Castle is going to try to set right now, knowing that he has at least a theoretical advantage. Yeah, for like you said, for the Punisher, it's all about just catching up. Meanwhile, Threadripper, he's going to drop the Ignite on Asalak. That might be enough. One more tick. No, the Biscuits are going to be just enough. That Doran's Shield start proving to be perhaps the difference for Asalak, but Castle taking no prisoners. The tempo is balls to the wall, like you said, pedal to the metal, and Ambition Black secure the first Drake of the game.
I am not entirely sure how consequential grabbing this Hextech this early will be. Again, none of the things that Team Ambition Black are going to really show themselves until a couple minutes from now. However, the power behind those ideas, those actions, may be a lot more worth than they would have been if Illini had some sort of better denial, or if that first blood was never found. There's this infinite amount of possibilities that could have spread from not finding that first kill. BMD, though, on this Jax, already finding so much space. These trades coming in favor so heavily, and that combo with the Ignite was gorgeous, almost landing. Asalak still in so much danger, though, just having to play keep away already as BMD has the ult up at this stage. The bot lane is resecured after the dragon is taken. Team Ambition Black already staking their claim as the #1 team.
Yep, it's so far so good. Elite is one thing. It's what you do with it that matters. Kind of checking in across the rift. The CS numbers really aren't bad, but Mark Boots goes QEW, Shurima, Shuffle, gonna auto-innumerable almost to death here. The Corrupting Pots come down. The W goes out as well as a zoning tool. The Death Ray and the Chaos Storm going out as well, but Innumerable has no flash. Now, an advantage partially here accrued by Mark Boots. He wanted the all-in and he almost got it there.
It may have been too greedy a push from Mark. Oh, I shouldn't say greedy. Maybe a little too much where Mark Boots may have been chopping at the bit. A little too hard. Again, I think Team Ambition Black, they have all the pieces ready at this point. They just have to continue phasing until they, have a big enough of an advantageous position where they can start to make these kind of more brazen pushes, lane by lane, or hell, even start team fights before Illini is ready, because I think they'll absolutely have the kits to do that come maybe the 11 or 12 minute mark at this pace. Punisher, though, is continuing to find some space. That first blood is starting to wane in its potential as Castle and Punisher are keeping time continuously. Mitch and All For One, while they've gained space back and forth in the bottom phase, they haven't gotten too greedy, haven't gotten punished, but also haven't found any kills themselves. The Hextech is going to come up from Asalak early and catch BMD slipping. Falling asleep too as the Punisher is going to find the invasion, and there's a lot of damage already. Could lead to the kill. The flash comes out too, but it's a little late as BMD will fall.
He goes down, but like you said, it was beautifully layered I think that this was very, very well communicated on this top side. We talk about it. It's going to be explosive top side early on. And look, credit Asalak. This, he almost got his behind handed to him. But the point is, the kill wasn't secured by Threadripper, so there was no gold advantage. And so he knew, like, look, power-wise, I'm about to save on cooldown. Mark Boots pops a Shurima Shuffle, but Punisher was able to flash away. Castle not going to be affected at all by the exhaust, but that Chaos Storm is going to hurt like heck. Trading 1 for 1 now, jungler for mid laner. Very nice encore to catch innumerable. Newbie doesn't have quite all that range he wants later on. No Shurima Shuffle available, but Mark Boots in. He didn't expect to see Asalak there immediately. Now he has to turn tail and run, and Asalak going to punish Mark Boots. A very well done read, a very good cover by the Illini top laner.
I don't think that was even a trap necessarily set by Illini. They just decided that they could spring one the second that Ambition pushed an inch too far. And again, there's a little bit of connection gain from TAB, but it's looking it's looking more microscopic than it's supposed to be at this point. You looked at everything that Team Ambition Black had set up for themselves in the very early minutes of this stage. You see the first blood, you see the space gain, and you say to yourself, man, Team Ambition Black, they already hold so many of these cards, but there's still so much game left to be played and so much attitude that Team Ambition Black can manifest for themselves. However, I will say, with the Azir overpush, objectives are mildly traded, and Shelly's still going to go to TAB.
Yep, Shelly going to be picked up here, so Ambition Black, even though, like you were saying, the gold lead actually in the Illini's favor. They have secured the first 2 objectives. First Herald, unbelievably strong still. So we'll see where that is decided to... where I should say Castle wants to decide to drop that. First one to the Mythic, no surprise here. It's all for 1. He's got that Moonstone Renewer coming online really, really early here. It's going to help give that little bit more of sustain. Gosh, just so much healing. I mean, this is pretty... Sometimes there are these games, 10 right, where you think, okay, at what point is it worth it to get heal cut, to get this anti-heal, right? Do you slam a Bramble Vest, potentially, Oblivion Orb or whatnot? Who's your best holders? This is a game where you want to over-index into that. You want to go into that early. And if you, as we're getting an update here, if you are,
wow, RIP Twitch.
Yeah, says we got, no viewers here right now, so I might be just talking into the wind. But once we got a few more of y'all in here, we can let you know that, no, you are not alone. It's not just you.
Slow welcome back.
Truly. No, but either way, yeah, I think, that Herald placement, that's going to be the next thing to look out for here. And consequently, how does that shape Team Ambition Black's strategy going forward? I think the strategy right now, it's a little inelegant, but it's just kind of beat you over the head and just try to outhands you. And that's been enough to secure the first 2, now potentially 3 objectives of the game. Now, Ambition Black going for a play here on the bottom side, but on the top side, the Illini looking to answer. Red Ripper is going to have to play very, very safe here, and they just can't get the angle on him. They committed so much, did the Illini, and got jack diddly squat out of it.
We talked about Ambition's power going into this game, and we talked about Illini's spacing going into this game, but it's Ambition's spacing that has actually been one of the biggest controllers of this game, whether it leads to them dying or succeeding. Taking the Ocean Drake as well as the Herald, and while it was Illini that was able to spring a trap, it was Ambition that still was able to reap the reward. They still got the cheese in there, despite the fact that they may have lost a bit of themselves along the way. And it seems that Ambition Black, despite the fact that they're definitely setting up the pieces, they're willing to sacrifice a few along the way to reach a better endgame. And while it's scrappier, while it may appear a little fragmented, while it may appear a little rookie-like, it can appear that much more brutal when the end times come along.
Yep, the end game's going to be lethal. The end game's going to be absolutely demonic for Team Ambition Black. Your Olaf is your only carry, not carry, your only champion that you're worried about falling off in the late game, and a lot of the changes, the true damage coming into his kit now, has allowed him to be less of that, all right, at 20 minutes, I just kind of run in. I know it's a one-way trip, bit of a kamikaze mission for your boy. He's a lot safer in that respect. He can flex into a couple roles now. Ambition Black and the boys really, looking really, really strong so far. Able to crash that Herald into the mid lane. They got a little bit out of that. And now we are into pause territory, as might not have been Twitch that crashed only here. We might have some issues here on the game side. If this pause goes any longer, we'll take a break. But for now, It's been a relatively action-packed one here, and I think, for me, the gold lead, or the relative lack of gold lead, I'll say, Tenrek, betrays just how well Ambition Black have been controlling this game. Yes, there was that slip-up on top side, and I think, whether it was Mark Boots getting, a little greedy, like you said, it wasn't really like a trap that Illini sprung, kind of in that north jungle quadrant, right, punishing a little bit of an overextension around that Herald fight. But I still think Ambition Black have been firmly in control of this one, and like you said, they have sacrificed little bits here and there, but they're setting their chips up. They're setting up some, sort of chessboard gambit to really set themselves up nicely for the late game.
Certainly, yeah, Ambition Black has certainly set themselves up. However, Illini does have a resurgence in their midst because of the fact that they've been able to keep time with the gold lead, and because Ambition Black has been able to kind of chip away at themselves in order to reach a greater good. We just saw 2 Leandri's Anguishes bought up and a Divine Sunderer, so top jungle mid has been buffed up a little more for the remainder of this. So I think BMD is going to have to stall even longer in this top lane before he can start soloing, let alone team fighting. I think that beyond that as well, I think that we're going to have to see the Olaf and the Azir wait a little bit longer. I think Mark is going to have to take a couple steps back too, and I don't know if Ambition Black is ready to do that. I feel like at this point, they're running into walls at this point. They're waiting for the boundaries to be lifted, and I don't know if they're going to go too early or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only thing you're worried about is over-aggression early on. Because I think you saw that bite him in the butt a little bit early on. But look, this is a team that you don't run into. You don't run into a bunch of titles in a league like Unified. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You don't do that by accident. Looks like we're still in that pause, so we're going to take it to a quick break as Innumerable tries to get himself reconnected here. But when we come back, we'll have game one, the rest of game one, I should say, between Team Ambition Black and the Illini of Illinois. Yeah, we'll see you on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty, we are back. Team Ambition Black on the blue side in this game 1 of a best of 3 against the Illini. We are back, loaded in to the game here. And now, I think the only differences that we have seen here as Innumerable, the mid laner for the Illini, reconnected. He's down to TP, but that's all right. You were talking about it before we went on break, Tenrek. The mythic items are starting to come in here, and this is the equalizer right now. I mean, look, gold is only as much. Gold only matters if you spend it.
Exactly. No, the gap isn't there enough yet for Ambition Black to really call it for themselves. I mean, look how close things are. Sure, Ambition Black does have a 400 gold lead, but in the grand scheme of things, especially when starting to hunt for these mythics, it does not mean all that much. Again, the Anguishes and the Sunderer on that top to mid side for Illini Esports is going to try and cut open what has been the weaker part of Ambition Black's pushes. And oh man, BMD is looking to get a little surrounded, but Castle is ready for it.
Castle ready for it. Threadripper, excuse me, going to light up Celiac. Newbie threw up the piercing darkness, but it did. Wait for it. Jack Diddley squat. Did absolutely nothing.
Hey!
And now Castle going to try to run down Punisher here. He's still got his ultimate. Lilting Lullaby. Punisher's not even going to pop it. He knows that CC immunity is just a little too much. But he didn't blow it. So just threw down the W. Yeah, no, he didn't. He had the potential to, but didn't. And he knows, look, there's absolutely nothing I can do here. The purchase is entirely in Ambition Black's hands. But did they overstay? Innumerable laying down the damage here. Trying to get the chase on. TP burned. Maybe a Celiac's going to want that back. But, well, I say that. Herald, second one anyway, going to be up here in just a bit. Maybe they try to fight for it. Mark Boots setting up that vision. We were talking about it off stream during the break. The Wombo potential is immense for Ambition Black. And what makes Wombo go round is pre-fight vision setup. And Ambition Black certainly have the tools and the lead to do that.
It is going to be about info for Ambition Black walking forward into these rounds as they have to retreat a little farther from the river now that Illini has packed themselves in. They're probably going to try and rotate so they can get this third Drake in the next minute pretty soon. They'll want to pile in on that quickly because then they can just find the vision and find the team fights so much more quickly, especially since that Ragnarok is now back online. You're going to be able to make sure that you're kind of protected on a player-by-player basis to kind of those specific things. Ragnarok is going to be a big player in that. This might be another trade, as the second Herald is going to go the way of Illini, while indeed Ambition Black is laying in wait for that third dragon to pop up. But in the meantime, BMD is going to try and gain a little more space. Ambition, they are readying themselves for this, I want to say, like, the conclusion of the mid phase for this game, where they have a more visible gold lead. They have a more visible amount of space gained in the lanes where they've kind of haven't been able to really shine as much, and all of this kind of fake space that they've given over to Illini isn't going to mean much in the grand scheme of things.
No, as that dragon pops up now, Illini able to get the rotation over and able to, if not contest, just outright take this third dragon. So, look, it doesn't hurt as bad because of the early dragon stacking that Ambition Black was able to, well, stack. And Threadripper, credits to him. Look, you punch, you get punched, you try to hit back. He's able to take just the second tower of the game up in the top lane. So top and bottom tier ones are down, but Illini, they prevent the 3-0 dragon lead from coming to light here. They are down. Let's not sugarcoat it, but they are not out by any means.
I'm just sitting waiting for this conversion with the double support in that bot lane. I cannot wait to see how All For One can use these encores. That is going to be one of the highlights of this game for me, because Ambition Black, like you said, the Wombo combo potential is so there, but something has to start it, and that something has to cost quite a bit. It might be a Ragnarok, it might be a Root, it might be an encore, but something has to get things going. That initiation has to be massive from TAB, and so this setup, this vision, this packing in, this T1 destroying, whatever the hell that Ambition is doing, has to be very intentional and very methodical.
And we were talking about it in draft, the amount of spacing that Innumerable can provide with the Victor, right? That's going to be something that you've got to be able to use to your advantage. If you are going in there and getting yourself caught by these encores, right? The range keeps getting extended, yes, but if the encore keeps catching you, you did something wrong. If you are innumerable, if you are I'm a newbie, there's no excuse for that to be happening. Threadripper going to get absolutely annihilated here. The lilting lullaby, is it going to come down? There's no need. Punisher getting the assist there for the kill onto Threadripper, and now can Ambition Black respond? Illini being very nice, very selective, surgical with their picks.
Yeah, the Hextech ultimatum plus that's World Seed was kind of all the pressure you needed space-wise, and Ambition Black, they're going to try and re-attack for it up the mid lane on T1.
There's that encore, but Mark Boots not really feeling like he could have Shrima shuffled off of that. That felt like it was an opportunity, but they played it just a little close to tower, and Ambition Black, what feels like for the first time all game, we see them hesitate. Oh, Castle. Okay. Yeah, he seems like he's just all in. And the rest of the Illini, they're not able to respond. Mark Boots in, gonna finish off the kill onto the Punisher, and he's gonna get a flash out of Silver Ritter as well. Just when I was praising the Illini, Castle goes in there and takes matters into his own hands.
Dude, the Ragnarok plus the Ghost makes Castle just a force to be reckoned with. And he was in the middle of probably 3 different members who were kind of roaming around jungle. That makes this fight so much easier.
Drop in. You don't need the encore if you can land an empowered beat drop 10 rec. It's just that easy sometimes, but the shutdown kill does come down on a Mark Boots. Those towers are hitting really hard, and we've gone full Fiesta mode. No one can have nice things, because when you get nice things, someone else takes your other nice things, and that's the way this game has gone. The Illini get 2 kills right back.
This self-destructive from Ambition Black or from Illini Esports, or both, regardless, it's fun as hell to watch, tough as hell to cast, but a good time for all to be had. My favorite way to watch League of Legends is where everyone feels overpowered, and honestly, I feel like we're really starting to get to that point with all 10 of these players really starting to pitch in their own very creative and very, very powerful ways. Everyone has had their moment to shine. At least everybody has at least 2 kills or assists on the board, save for, funnily enough, just BMD, who is seemingly needing to always play catch-up after their second run-in with a Hextech ultimatum.
Yeah, BMD, he's had a tough go at it. He's had a couple of his moments, but I mean, we were talking about it again off stream here. The scaling is right now on Ambition Black's side, absolutely, but look, with a Senna and with a Camille and with a Victor, let's not act like there's no late game damage for the Illini, absolutely. And as these Leandries have come in, that percent health, it's going to feel really, really good. Not that you're going to get a ton of value out of it into the team that Ambition Black is running, but if you let this Camille get out of control, it can get really, really scary, especially if Threadripper can't get some sort of hold back on this game.
Team Ambition Black finished their first game against Mirage Alliance in just 24 minutes. We're already past that threshold for Illini. There's no way this game is going to be over in 24. Illini needs to get through these thresholds so they can get to their own. Their games against Akuma took so much longer than TAB's for week number 1. Team Ambition, they finished in 24 and 30. Illini, they lost in 43 and 34. Illini, they need to be all about stall. And like you said, scaling can definitely work for Ambition Black, but the longer they're forced to try and contribute to these fights, the more and more they're going to start to run out of ideas. And Illini is going to start reading them like a book. Their positioning is going to constantly get better and better, and they're going to start to find some edges.
Well, one of those edges just went out the window. The Punisher had to burn that, or didn't have to, but he did burn that Lilting Lullaby early. And now, with the Dragons being 2-1, again, this isn't a death sentence if Ambition Black gives it over to the Illini, but stopwatch is coming in with the heal cuts coming in. This is where these team fights can start to get really spicy. All for one, all by himself. Eliak is going to take the tower revive onto him, but All for One just absolutely outplays him. He was 2 levels down. He didn't give a rip. And now, here he comes, right that teleport in the bot lane. He is going to go right, or that's Threadripper, excuse me. All for One is going to back and then TP in, and now the chaos will ensue. Threadripper right into the back line, Innumerable taking a couple pot shots to the head. The rest of the team joining the fight. Mark Boots in with a very nice stream of shuffle. It catches 2. Innumerable able to stop it with the stopwatch. And now jumping over there, Castle gonna lay down the herd onto I'm a Newbie, BMD Threadripper onto Punisher, and make it 2 for him. We talked about him wanting to get a hold back on this game. That's a great way to do it.
It's so funny because BMD, at this stage in the game, I feel like on the Jax would be so used to being able to jump in, and before anybody could even kind of get the drop on him, he would be able to find the kill, all the connection that was necessary. But because of the level gap that BMD was down to, and because of how much catch-up he's had to be playing, he needed that support. Luckily, it was there, and it's all thanks to Castle. So much extra attack damage coming out from Castle to be able to help support and save face for BMD. So now, not only is BMD caught up with the rest of the team, along with, of course, Illini Esports, but so much space has been gained for the entirety of this squad. They're gonna take Drake, and they're gonna take the Baron.
Really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. They took